Hello everyone and welcome to Talk of the Town. My name's Karen Bukes and tonight I'm your host. But before we start, I along with my husband Ken, our crew Jimmy and Stephen, want to send our deepest condolences to Police Officer Gregory Maloney, his family and the Plymouth Police Department. Plymouth lost one of our bravest yesterday. We send our blessings. May God protect all our safety officers. So let's start the program by welcoming our underwriters. Jeff Cohn and One Stop Painting, great company, great guy. Brewster, PC Solutions with Wrestling Brewster, and Wrestling has his own show here on PAC TV. Be sure to tune in. PAC TV does a lot of great shows. Attorney Trifletti and Costa on Long Pond Road. And another wonderful underwriter, matter of fact, he was our first underwriter, David and Kevin Gallerani, owners of Cape Auto and Cape Service. Locations are Samoset and Sandwich Street right here in Plymouth. Tonight, we are pleased to bring you someone who works tirelessly for Plymouth. He is not only respected for all that he does, but he is respected in the way he does it. Please welcome Selectman Matt Muratore.
Thank you. Thank you for having me tonight.
Oh, Matt, it's been quite a day, and I know before we start, you want to say something.
Yeah, you know, Karen, you said it beautifully. You know, it's hard to lose anybody in a community like this, but you know, our hearts and prayers of all the Board of Selectmen, the town manager, the whole community go out to the Maloney family. As I told you before we started, my daughter's in class with the youngest son, and it's difficult on everyone. It's the whole community, and it was a great tribute that occurred today when he was brought back to Plymouth, back through the police station, back paraded through town, and to see the amount of people that were out showing their respect, you know, for him and for all the police officers, fire folks, etc. Just it was heartwarming to actually see.
As it should be, and from what I understand, they were all lined up on all the bridges and all the way down.
Yeah, it was him coming back from Boston. They had police escorts from all over the Commonwealth. And the roads were actually shut down as they were bringing him down. The helicopters were flying overhead, and it was the most moving thing I've ever saw.
It's heartbreaking, and there are no words to express the sadness.
You know, and I said to you know, all the selectmen were there today, and you know, we were greeting the guys and giving our condolences, and you know, and I said to a few of them, no matter what side of the issues you're on sometimes, and sometimes as a selectman and, you know, town staff, you get on different sides sometimes. You know what? You know, all that doesn't really matter. We're still one community.
Right.
We are one together, and we will come together like no other community can when tragedy like this hits. And we will be, you know, we will be behind those police officers, those firemen, you know, and particularly the Maloney family forever.
I truly believe that, Matt.
Yeah.
That's the way we are. Well, first of all, thank you so much for still
Sure.
coming
Yeah.
onto the show
Yeah,
tonight.
absolutely.
I know you had a lot to do. Maybe we should start for those very few people that don't know you, your backstory, who you are,
Sure.
you're married, and
Yeah, sure.
personally.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure there's a lot of people that don't know me, so I'm always pleased to talk about my background and where I came from. And I actually grew up in Caribou, Maine. I was born in Caribou, Maine. I only one in my whole family that grew up out of Massachusetts. Was born out of Massachusetts.
In the lineup, do you have brothers and sisters?
I have 2 older brothers and 1 younger brother.
Oh,
so there was
okay.
four brothers. There was 4 of us,
Wow.
and I have 6 daughters.
Yeah, of course.
So there was karma there somewhere. But then I was raised on the South Shore, mostly in Rockland, and started out in 1977 as a dishwasher in a nursing home. And I've been in nursing homes ever since. Almost 36 years now. It was a job I loved, working with elderly people at the age of
Yes.
16.
You've always said that.
Yeah, it was fascinating to listen to people's stories and hear the history that these people have. And I'm still fascinated nowadays when I still meet people.
Well, Matt, you have to have a compassionate, understanding heart, and you're a good listener anyway, to love that work.
Absolutely, yeah. You learn patience through that.
Sure.
But you hear these stories that people, a lot of them grew up in the Depression, and back then in the 70s and 80s. I mean, some of these people were born in the 1800s,
Yeah.
and late 1800s. You hear a lot of stories. It was just fascinating.
Right.
And so then I finally became an administrator in 1991. I got licensed by the Commonwealth. And I've been doing that ever since, all on the South Shore and Cape Cod. And I've been at Plymouth Rehab and Healthcare Center, the former Radius facility, for
Right.
11 years now.
Do you know, the first time I went in there was about a week and a half ago. I had never been in there. I've been in a few other facilities. I want to tell you, Matt, it is clean. It was bright, happy. The people smiled. I was impressed.
Thank you. Well, again, it goes to my upbringing back in the 70s when I started. I mean, that's the way you need it to be. You have to respect these people that are living there.
Yeah.
And nowadays, it's not your grandmother's nursing home anymore. Back
Yeah.
then, everyone went to a nursing home and they lived there and they died. Nowadays, a very small portion of what we do is long-term care. A lot of it's, short-term rehab,
Right.
dementia care. There's all sorts of other programs that you actually do nowadays. We're like
Yeah.
a mini hospital, like hospitals were 10 or 15 years ago.
Is Crayon College there?
Crayon College, no. That's another side business I have with my partner, Cindy Morgan. We actually own 2 daycare centers. One's called Crayon College in Kingston, and the other is called Crayon College in Plymouth. So we have one in South Meadow Road, right up the street here, and one
okay.
on Main Street on 3A in Kingston.
Okay. Yeah, that's fascinating
Yeah.
to me, that you, from one perspective to another.
Yeah, it's for
But
all
that's
ages,
who
for
you
all
are.
ages. Well, yeah, we started Crayon College back in 2004, and for the simple reason, I had 4 kids at that time.
Oh, goody.
Now I have 6, but I had 4. So, and there was a couple of young ones. I said, maybe it's time to do this.
Yeah.
But when I worked in Kingston as an administrator, it was called the Evanswood Center for Older Adults down the street from Silver Lake High School. It's now called the Inn at Wingate, I believe it is.
Was there a Baptist taught?
It was owned by the Baptists. Yeah, I worked for the.
Kenny's mother went there.
Oh, is that right? I worked for
Yes.
the Baptists. Yeah, it was
Yes.
nonprofit.
Right.
So I ran the nursing home for a brief time, and then ran the whole campus, which had independent living, assisted living,
Yes.
adult care, and a daycare center. And that's how I learned the child daycare business there.
Good for you.
And when I left in 2002 and went to Radius, soon after the daycare closed. And Cindy Morgan was the director there that I had hired there. So she was laid off, and we started talking, and we said, why don't we
Voila.
start? She's the brains behind the operations, and I
Yeah.
take care of the books, and it works great.
That's great. Yes, you are a number man. That's very good to
Yeah,
have.
yeah.
Because, well, we'll get into that after. But then you ran for Selectman with Sergio Hane.
Yeah.
And it was a wonderful campaign.
It was, back in, I think it was 1992, I actually ran for Selectman in Rockland. And I was young at that time. I think I was 29 or 30 at the time.
Oh, young, yeah.
And I'll never forget it, though. It was a 10-person race for 2 seats, and I actually came in 3rd. Yeah.
You and I have something in common. 10-person race. I came in third.
There you go. There you go. And there's nothing wrong
Yeah,
with there's nothing wrong with that. First time around, I was on the finance committee in Rockland for 2 or 3 years before that. So,
Yeah.
and my mentor, who his name was Edmund Delpre, he's since passed away, but he actually owned and ran the nursing home. He kind of took me under his wing,
Yeah.
as a 16-year-old kid, and kind of helped me go through college, and really helped me along the way. He used to be a selectman in Rockland, so I kind of followed that path, and I never really thought I'd ever do it again until, it just kind of fell in my lap in 2010 or 2009 here in Plymouth.
Do you want to tell them that story?
Yeah, it's funny, and I'm not saying that just because I'm on Karen's show, but I was at, I'll never forget this, a town meeting. I was on the finance committee for about 3 or 4 years at that point.
And I had been watching you on TV
and
going.
I didn't know who you were, but I remember you sitting on the right-hand side of the auditorium, the old school,
Yeah.
and I was walking off the stage, and you pulled me to the side. You said, kid or something.
Yeah.
You should think of running for selectman someday.
Right.
I'm like, oh.
You said, are you kidding
yeah, you're
me?
kidding me. and then soon after that,
no, you've got it.
Because I think Selectman Malaguti at the time was then about getting ready to retire,
Yeah.
and then he grabbed me,
Yeah.
and then John Mahoney grabbed me, and a couple other people had grabbed me as well soon after that. It's like, maybe I should think about it.
Those that can tell can see the spark in certain people that should run, that have a quality about them. And I saw that in you, and I said, if I ever get the chance to, I said, I'm going to say something to him. Kenny says, he's going to think you're crazy. I said, no, he'll either say no, or yes, or I'll think about it, or whatever. And you just looked at me, and you said, seriously? And I said, yes. And
that's
you
how it
went
started.
from there.
Yeah, that's how it started. So people at home, you have her to blame if you don't like what I'm doing.
No, God. Oh, that's like matchmaking. But you and Sergio ran a fabulous campaign.
Yeah. It was good. It was tough because, at the time it was Selectman Machado, well known, well respected in town, and it was a tough race with the three of us doing it. And for the most part, Sergio and I were really not really that known.
Yeah.
But it's like anything I do. It's always you work hard, you work smart, you surround yourself with people that aren't going to tell you what you want to hear, but tell you what you need to hear.
Now, you sit with 4 other members of your board, and they're all wonderful. They all serve very, very well, exceedingly well. Tell us the dynamics behind that board.
We're a hard-working group. We really are. But you know what? We enjoy each other's company as well.
You've said that before.
We really do. And sometimes, occasionally, after a meeting, we'll all kind of go out. Not to have separate meeting, but just to kind of go out to enjoy each other's companies, and we talk about our families and all that, and we've all gotten really close. Being a selectman is a small community. I mean, if you think about it, over the several decades, there's not a lot of people that have done it. So you really don't know what's entailed with it unless you actually do it. So we have a common bond with that.
Yep.
But the first and foremost bond we all have is the love for our families and this community. And we want to make sure that we're doing the very best for them and for our future generation of children and grandchildren, et cetera.
I cannot say that there is a single member of that board that does not feel that way.
No, not at all. We don't have egos. We really don't. We disagree. Absolutely, do we disagree? But we do it in a respectful way.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Matt, I was there that night that, you set some parameters, and it was wonderful because you're a gentleman. And you said, you know what, we're going to run this board in a gentlemanly way. And with total respect toward Belinda. She doesn't have an ego like that. She understood that completely, as did all of them, and it has run very well.
Thank you. Yeah, we worked hard at that. It's difficult every election cycle. You get somebody new on, and then you're trying to all gel together.
Yeah.
But we've been able to do it because of how we've set it up, and those guiding principles that we did a couple of years ago, they make a world of difference when you set up some guiding principles on how you're going to operate meetings.
Yeah.
It helps a lot. And as long as you can listen to people, respect what they have to say, it goes a long way.
It does go a long way because, you know, people get passionate, and I'm one of those people. And I can, you know, break out in a rash or whatever. But it's a good thing to remember, you know, when all is said and done, we're all in it for the right reason.
Absolutely. And we're never going to agree. You and I don't agree on things sometimes.
Not on everything.
And that's okay, but I can respect that, and you can respect where I'm coming from as well. You know, what should never happen, and unfortunately this actually happened today. I actually saw an email that was sent, and I won't get into the details, but there was an email sent to a town meeting member that in my opinion, was somewhat of a bullying email. They were being bullied about, you know, an article that was coming up. And you know what? There's no, and I chimed in because I actually got copied in. I said, look, there's, especially today of all days, you know, with Officer Maloney's family, you know, we need to have some respect for each other. It's okay if you two disagree on something. That's okay. But we're trying to teach our children not to bully. And yet, we as adults still feel the need to try to bully people to get what we want. And it's just not right. And that was the main premise of really getting those guiding principles. We're trying to teach our children something, and we can't be arguing here at, you know, in meetings and, you know, yelling at people and calling people names. And it's just, what are we teaching our kids?
Exactly. That's what you said from the
Absolutely.
Board.
And I feel very passionate about that.
What are we teaching our children? Set by example. Now,
you got it.
I also know that it's a 24/7 job, especially you're called first. I would imagine Melissa is also, if anything happens. So you're on call 24/7. I can remember Dick Quintal talking about that. You know, they go to bed, they get a phone call. Is that?
Yeah, you know, I sleep with my phone right next to my bed.
Right.
Because you do never know. But you know what? I've been used to that all these years as a nursing home administrator, licensed by the Commonwealth. That's my role. I've been 24/7 for, you know, 25 years.
Boy, and you still look great.
Yeah, but that's because of my hair's better now. I don't have gel in my hair. Actually,
you know, I was going to say something.
I'll tell you, real quick story. Last week I was at the South Shore Community Action Council Annual Heroes Award. It's a great event. It's one of my favorite events to go to. Actually, Dr. Maestas got an award for the Dream Ride, and Dr. Bravini got an award as well. But it was, I ran into, Ken and I were there, and I ran into the Senate President. She was actually host the event, and we were outside talking beforehand, and she kind of looked up at me and she said, you did something different to your hair.
It's wonderful.
And I said, well, I didn't have time to put gel in. She goes,
looks
good, you look young.
Yeah.
So I said, if the Senate President thinks my hair looks good and young, I'm going to keep it this way.
I was going to say something, but I said, oh, should I? What should I? But it looks great.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can't even remember what it looked like before, but it's I know it's better.
Yeah, but so I've always been used to you know, to being on 24/7, and
well, this is one of your greatest talents. You are able to bring people, factions, ideas, and proposals together. It is a talent to do that. Not everybody can, Matt, and that's one of the qualities I saw on the FinCom when you served on it. Now that guy's a bridge builder, I said. That's what we need, is a bridge builder. Not a person that blows up the bridge, not the type that goes halfway across and then goes back, but builds the bridge and brings others along with them. And that's what you do.
Well, I appreciate the comments. I have a very simple philosophy that I've used over the years that I've been managing, and it's called an ACT. I call it an ACT, A-C-T. It's attitude plus communication equals teamwork. If you surround yourself and you have people that have positive attitudes and say that this bottle is half full, not half empty, you have to develop that first. And once you have that, then it's more easy to communicate with people.
Yes.
But if you have people that are negative or have bad attitudes, you're never going to get to the point of communication. So again, going back to the guiding principles, that sets up that attitude so that everyone's on the same page. So we respect one another, etc. So we can get to this next level of communication. Right. Because what does that equal? Teamwork.
Absolutely, Matt.
No matter what side of the issue you're on, And I've been criticized as chairman by people because I don't take stands on a lot of things. And I personally believe that my role as chairman is to help facilitate
Right.
debate.
Right. That is
And
a
not try to
chairman's role.
and not try to
Yes.
influence it one way or another.
Right. That's exactly correct. But you know, sometimes that doesn't happen. But you're able to do it.
No, thank you.
I see
Thank
it
you.
all the time. And the more you talk, Matt, the more you educate people on your philosophy. And we're going to get into another kind of philosophy that you have in a little while. But well, let's conquer it now.
Sure.
You do have a specific philosophy on how people should be treated, and it spills over to other people. And I actually see the waves sometimes. I see people that have their haunches up, and after a few minutes talking with you, their shoulders relax, and they come away with a better idea. It's still their own, but you've opened the door to something else. And, you know, this is what should happen in Washington, you know, and I'm not one, I don't want to make total judgments because, you know, I'm not there, but I know what I see. And I will say here and now that you're one of the best selectmen we've had, and brings me to my you know, I tear myself up because you're now running to be state representative. We're going to lose you. I know we're going to lose you, Matt, but you're going to be a wonderful state representative.
Thank you.
You're going to carry, I know you will, the same demeanor, and that's what we need. Let's talk about that.
Sure. You know, I really love the fact of being a selectman because nobody cares if you have an R or a D or an I or an L next to your name. It doesn't matter. You know what? Because it's about who has the good ideas. And that's what matters. And that's why I love being a selectman. You know, I'm going to take that same philosophy as I run for state rep because it's the right thing to do. You know, and I always say, I'll always do what I think is the right thing to do and not what's politically correct to do. And I think that's what's wrong with Washington. The egos get away. They worry about, you know, standing for the Republican Party, the Democratic Party. They don't want to get people upset. And you know what? We got to stop that. I wish we could get rid of those R's and the D's. It shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. And and I think we've been able to learn that here in Plymouth. And you know, hopefully it catches on in Beacon Hill and in Washington as well.
Sure, I'm an independent. I started out as a Democrat. I think everybody starts out as a Democrat. But I felt more comfortable as an independent because I choose the person.
You got it.
Not the party.
That's correct.
I understand philosophy on party issues and all of that, but it hampers you. I think it ties your hands because I've worked for some candidates really up in Boston, and they're still sitting in the State House. But it's different. I'd rather pick you for your creativity, your talent, your hard work.
I think you see more of my generation coming into that now than before.
Yeah. I do see that.
Yeah, I think you see a lot more of that. And I think the more that we can actually help facilitate that, I think you'll see more people that will come into the fold and start being involved with their government, no matter if it's on a local or state or a federal level, but be involved and at least get out to vote.
Yes.
Because they'll know that their vote really does matter.
Yes. Why don't you tell everyone why the seat is becoming vacant?
Sure.
And, you know, Vinny was supposed to be here, Vinny DiMacedo, and Vinny's running for state senate. But he's in session And we knew that might happen, and that comes first, of course. But why don't you tell people the precincts that you will represent
Sure.
and who's vacating? And
Sure. Well, as I think most people know by now, the Senate President Therese Murray, who's been in office since 1992, has decided to retire. And I must say, she's been a great advocate, great friend to the town of Plymouth, and it's going to be a loss to have her to leave that seat. But Vinnie has decided to run for that seat.
Wonderful.
And that covers the town of Plymouth, Sandwich, Bourne, Falmouth, Kingston, and Pembroke. So, and he's been in the legislature for 16 years. He's very well respected in the legislature. Matter of fact, he just had his kickoff the other night, and he had well over 400 people at the Waverly Oaks,
and
it was
it was standing room
only.
standing
room only. It was amazing. He's just such a great, genuine guy. He just really is, and he's another one that, he'll do things the right way. What's the right thing to do and not what's the politically correct thing to do.
Absolutely.
And he's not, as he said the other night, he says, I'm still Vinnie from the gas station. And
I
that's how he
know.
got running. He was Vinnie from the gas station.
Vinnie from
and
the
he still
gas
is.
station.
And you can never forget your roots and where you come from. And why you're doing it. And he has never forgot that.
That's right.
And that's a good lesson for me, because I'll never forget that either. I'm here for Plymouth.
Yeah.
There may be other people around the state that may want to help me get elected and all that. That's great. But my number one goal is what's best for Plymouth. Now, so this seat is now vacant, will be vacant. So I decided to run. It includes 11 out of the 15 precincts in Plymouth.
Okay.
It does not include precincts 1, 9, 11, and 13.
1, 9, 11, and 13.
Excuse me. 9, back in 2010, because of census, the state redistricted, and 9 went to Representative Hunt, who's down in the Sandwich area.
He's very well liked.
Yes, he is. Great guy.
Yeah.
And he actually has precinct 9.
Yeah.
And Representative Calter, another friend, another good guy.
Yeah.
He has precincts 1, 11, and 13.
Calter works hard.
He really does. We were together last night at that the Plymouth Performing Arts for the drug show that he put on. It was just unbelievable. But so that's what's available. The election's coming up in November, and
November 4th.
November 4th. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that it's going to be big for Plymouth. We've got 2 of our sons running, and we have to put you over the top.
Yeah, thank you.
You have plans to go to the Cape?
For what?
To you don't have
You
to.
throw me a curveball.
I think I'm talking to Vinnie.
No, that's Vinnie. That's
it's
Vinnie.
Vinnie.
Yeah. I know I'm trying to carry the show for Vinnie, but I'm not going to answer his questions too.
Oh God, I just had a brain cramp. All right, no, that's not even a question on here. So that just came out of nowhere. Oh yes, well you got to get closer if you want to talk.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to ask this question. Matt, help the people at home to understand what you see that needs to be improved.
In Plymouth?
And you will make the difference doing that.
In Plymouth?
Yes.
Well, I think in Plymouth and probably throughout the Commonwealth is economic development. I think we still have a pretty high unemployment rate in Massachusetts, and particularly in the Plymouth area. And I think the more people we can create jobs for, I think it helps the economy altogether. It helps the budgets altogether. I think we need to be, the other thing I think we need to be looking on the state level is the lottery money. It used to be when the lottery first started, almost the entire amount. We used to go to cities and towns, and now I believe it's something like less than 60%. We really need to kind of get back to that, because cities and towns, and particularly like Plymouth, we struggle. We haven't, 3 years ago, we gave a 0.002% raise to employees, because we're trying to do what we can to keep employees, and we're trying to keep the tax rate down. We're trying to not go over that 2.5 levy. Right. And it's difficult when you're not getting the state aid, and particularly a town like Plymouth that is growing leaps and bounds still.
I know we're only 50% built out.
We are at back in 2010 census, I think it was about 58,000 where we're at for population. The projection in 2020, which is only 6 years away, is about 73,000.
Oh, wow.
And then after that, it's over 80,000 in 2030. Yeah, and it's still going to keep growing.
Sure.
Do you have any plans as part of your campaign to help the town of Plymouth, Kingston, Situate, Cohasset get our rail service back on weekends?
Yeah, it's funny. We just had that meeting back in January, I think it was, and I don't recall the gentleman's name, but he's very passionate about. Used to work for the train station, and we were working with Rep. Coulter's office, and we're still working with his office to see what we can do about at least getting rail service Plymouth Kingston in the Kingston market for now, until Cordish Park actually opens up. So because the state does not want to put money into Plymouth, there's not enough growth there right now. We don't want to, I'm okay with, let's not worry about Cordish right now, but let's figure out a way how we can get people to Plymouth Kingston on the weekends and then bring bus service with GATRA or somebody else to get them into Plymouth. That's the short term. The long term, with the plans with Cordish, with the build out, with the condos and the shops and all that,
The marina.
down the road, then it would make sense economically to have the rail come down to Cordish.
Yeah, Kenny's a big advocate of that.
Our number one industry is tourism. I mean,
Yeah.
we're a destination, so we need to find all sorts of ways. And to me, that's a simple solution to try to do that.
Right.
And so, as I said, Coulter's office is working with us to, talk with the transportation folks and the T and trying to see what we can get on their agenda and talk about
When
that.
is Duval's term up?
This year.
Oh,
This is it, yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
This is a governor's year. This is a governor's race year.
Run for governor?
no, it's
No.
what?
It's Charlie Baker
Charlie
on the
Baker,
Republican side, and then
Polito.
it's with Karen Polito, who I've met recently. She's a wonderful lady.
She was on the
Yeah.
show before.
Was she? Wonderful
Oh,
lady,
yeah.
yeah. And then on the Democratic side, it's Attorney General
Oh
Copley.
yes.
Oh God, I'm blanking.
I don't know the. I don't know
I'm
the.
blanking who they are.
But that's right. It's Coakley, but I don't know who her running partner is.
Oh, Grossman.
Oh,
Treasurer Grossman.
Grossman. He was on
He's
the
on,
show
yeah,
too.
Yeah, he's running as well.
He's
and
a very
couple
nice
more.
man.
Yeah, he came to Plymouth. I remember spoke when about the new school dedication.
Yeah,
Actually, yeah,
He's
very
a
well spoken.
Very
Yeah,
intelligent man.
Yeah.
Now, Matt, you postponed something for tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Why
yeah.
don't you tell everybody?
Yeah, well, I had my campaign kickoff scheduled for tomorrow night at the Elks, and before we met early in session last night at the Selectmen's meeting. We met at 6 o'clock, and
Yeah.
we actually got word at I was tracking all day what happened with the police officer and all that, and we finally got word that he had passed away before we went on, and but at that point it wasn't public knowledge, and so we didn't really want to, get it out to the public, and we left our meeting, and we went to the Plymouth North High School and went to the drug show that was put on there, and sitting there watching that, and I just started thinking, I just had a pit in my stomach, and I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking, I can't do this. I said, my heart and my gut are telling me that it's the wrong thing to do.
You're right.
And I spoke to my colleagues, on the board who were there with me last night, and Vinny was there last night too, and I got their input. I went home and I woke my wife up at 10:30, and we talked about it for a while, and she finally said, you got to go with what your heart and gut is saying, and.
That was the right thing to do,
Yeah.
Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it goes with what I always say. It's it's doing what the right thing to do is, and to me that's the right thing to do. You can't fit a square peg in a round hole.
Yeah.
And so I've abandoned that, and there'll be a time and place for that. But there's
Sure.
a time and place for this community, and as chairman of the board of selectmen, I need to be here with the community and be
Yeah.
there for the family and the police officers.
Well, I know you have wide support, Matt, because there are, the D's and the R's and the I's are, and I would imagine some L's,
Yeah.
are supporting you.
Maybe yeses.
Yeah, and they were all there, all across the board for Vinny.
Yeah.
And I know they'll be there for you.
Yeah. Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope
So, it's not easy to run for any seat. I don't care what it is.
I'll be honest with you, it's tough. It's a tough thing to do. I enjoy it though. I enjoy being
Parts
out
of
there
it.
and seeing people, but it's the planning and everything getting up to. I mean, I've been very fortunate, you know, in my businesses at Plymouth Rehab and Crayon College. I got great people that I'm
Yeah.
surrounded with that really help there, and I got a great team. You know, when I ran for Selectman, and another great team running for this that really help. And as I say, keep me grounded, and don't tell me what I want to hear, but tell me what I need to hear.
Right.
And I'm
That's
very
so
careful to make
important.
sure I get people that are like that.
Yeah. Yes, I know. You're not the type that gets offended.
No, just the opposite.
Yeah.
I want to know.
Yeah.
And, you know, it goes back to what we were talking about before, your kind comments. You know, I know how to conduct myself to allow people to communicate in a comfortable way. And as an administrator, as a manager, you always have to have difficult conversations with employees sometimes.
Yes.
But you have to have it's the way you set it up to allow them to communicate, so you can you can help them if you need to help them. It's all how it's set up.
Yes, it's not that you can't say no, or
no.
I want you to perform better, or I'm sure you've let some people go. I mean, it's
Yeah,
also
absolutely. Yep.
heart-wrenching, but
Yep.
you have to do it.
Well, what I always say about that, you know, I've got a little sign on my desk, and I bring it to the selectmen's meeting sometimes, as you know, it can be done, because I always believe, in somebody brings you something, I try not to say no right away, because if they have an idea, it's probably a good idea. I say yes, and then we see what we can do. But I allow them to make the decisions on the problems that they bring to me. I try not to solve it for them. I say, okay, how would you do it? And a lot of times they know how to do it. They just want confirmation of it. And
Well,
that's what I allow them to
permission.
do. And permission. And I allow them to do it.
Yeah, that's so important.
Yeah, absolutely.
And with 6 daughters,
Why does everyone laugh when that happens?
because, well, you know what they say.
That's where I learned my listening skills.
Oh, I bet. Well, you know, now you're going to have, you know, potentially 6 son-in-laws if they
Yeah,
get married or
please,
whatever, you know,
please, yeah.
which would be great.
Yeah,
Now
yeah.
you'll be king of the hill.
Oh yeah, yeah. I told my oldest daughter just turned 29 in January.
Oh my
And-
God.
Yeah, and I said to
You
her,
don't look old enough.
well, thank you. And I said to her, I said, look, I said, you know what? And she's seeing this guy a couple of years now. I said, you know what? Why don't you wait a few years before you think of getting married? I said, you know what would be nice if all 6 of you got married together and had one wedding.
Oh.
And she looked at me. She said, oh yeah. She said, wait a minute. Peyton's only 6 years old. I can't wait that long. I said, I tried.
Shucks. Holy mackerel, that would be one heck of a bill, Matt.
Yeah, I know.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. Holy mackerel. No, they each have to have, if they so choose, have to have their special day. You'll be walking down the aisle
Yeah.
continually.
Or in a wheelchair. Who knows?
Or in a wheelchair. You wanted to put me in one. So,
I still have that nice room set up for you.
no, ain't happening, honey.
Nice little private room overlooking the South Street.
No. Yeah. Now, as you know, this is a very painful subject to a lot of us, and including you, I know it. Entergy. I truly believe they're not going to see out their contract here. I know they're leaving, and because of what's happening in the country. Those darn rods, I could say something worse, but how do we get payment for hosting those rods?
Well, it's really a complicated issue, but as you know, we have a pilot agreement with them.
Yes.
You know, we had a couple more years left on that, and then we'll be starting negotiations again in another year, and that's going to be a subject of conversations that we're going to have. I don't disagree with you that I believe there's 18 years left on their license, and I don't disagree with you, and it's more of a matter of economy of scales. It doesn't look like the economy, the numbers are working for nuclear power.
Yeah, they're not.
So and so we're going to have a tough few years ahead of us. You know, maybe they'll sell it to somebody else. I mean, who knows? But you know, the one thing about it is you're absolutely right. We need to be sure we're doing what we can to be sure the fuel rods are stored in the safest place. And I believe it is safe now, but I do believe that the safest way is dry cast. and whatever we can do to help speed that process up. Ken Tavares and Belinda Bruce have been working feverishly with Senator Markey's office,
Right.
Congressman Keating's office, and Senator Warren's office over
Yeah.
the last several weeks,
That's a lot
trying
of
to
help.
trying to get the federal delegation to kind of help with this, because there's nothing Plymouth can do. We really don't have any control, and I know, the governor sent a letter into to the NRC recently saying he wants Pilgrim shut down. Well, he has no control over that.
No, he
It's the
doesn't.
federal government, it's the NRC that have that control.
Unfortunately.
And I'm not looking to have Pilgrim shut down, because you're also looking at 600-700 people and their families who live in Plymouth and live in the area. We just want to make sure it's as safe as possible while it's open. The debate on how to get paid going forward,
yeah.
there is money that they have to put aside, for decommissioning.
But we can't touch it.
They can.
They can.
They can. Now, I know Vermont actually just worked, the town and Vermont Yankee worked out a deal where the town is going to get paid during the
Yes.
decommissioning. So there is now a template out there that we have.
Okay.
And we have terrific representation in Sheila Hollis and her group out of Washington. They know this stuff inside and out. So I'm confident that we will be able to to work something out over time. I don't think it's going to be any time in the next few years, but I do believe it will be within the 20 years that
Yeah.
something will occur. But we're planning for it now.
Well, I sit on the Revenue Idea Task Force, and Christine Pratt just found that information on Yankee and what they're doing for the town
Yeah.
and all of that. That we have to investigate that
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
And
We get all that information almost on a daily basis from from our attorney and there are activists out there, as you know, that
Yeah.
they have some wonderful information that they pass on to us as well. So we get all this information all the time and
Right.
stay on top of it.
now, I don't know. Maybe this isn't a fair question. How come France? I mean, how many of these nuclear plants does France have? And they love them. They're all over the place. I just don't think that's very good. I don't think it's smart.
I think it's like anything. Things change over time. I think they had their use over time, and now you look at people looking at solar. I mean, a few years ago, people looked at wind turbines. You don't hear a lot about that anymore. Now people looking at solar. It's just things that just change over time.
Next time it'll be a little chip this big.
Yeah.
It's going to run a whole city.
Yeah. Right.
Wouldn't that be great?
Right, yeah.
So I don't know, Matt, but like I said, I'm torn over you. Oh, of course, I'm voting for you, and I know Stephen and Kenny. We're all supporting you,
Thank you.
and Vinny. And but to get back to, it's not easy to run. One of the hardest things I found was asking people for money, and the candidate is the one that has to do it.
Yeah, that's the tough part. Yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah, it is.
Because I'm not the type.
Yeah, me
I
neither.
can ask for other people, but I can't ask for me.
Yeah, see, I a lot of people don't know this, but I grew up in a situation where it was my mother and my brothers, and it wasn't
A picnic.
It wasn't a picnic, no. So we were very frugal on everything we did,
Yeah.
but one thing I always learned is that whatever was given to us or we had to borrow, we made sure we got back.
Sure.
So I always make sure I do that. And so having to ask somebody for money that
so
I can't
foreign.
give back to them
Yeah.
is
Well, you
very
know
difficult.
how you pay back. Of course you know how to pay back.
Yeah, but I look at physically, how can I
Yeah,
give them
give
that
the
money
green,
back?
yeah.
But what I do is do the best job I can every single day, and
good
do
work.
what the right thing is to do for
Yes.
these people.
That's how you pay
Yeah.
back.
Absolutely.
And you don't forget the people who love you. You don't forget, number one, your roots.
Right.
It's...
With my kids and my wife, they don't let me. Trust
and
me.
There's another hard worker, your wife.
Oh God! If it wasn't
my
for
God.
her,
I don't know how she... you're bad enough, but I don't know how she does it. Because
she's
the
amazing.
woman runs the house.
She's amazing. Plus, she's I think
She
everyone knows.
works?
People know her better than me. She works at AAA and Costa. She's an attorney.
Yeah.
She's been there 10 years. She's just. I always said the only reason I got elected selectman is because they saw Muratore. They thought it was her.
No, they didn't.
I run into, believe it, I run into more people that say, "Oh, I know your wife. Oh, nice to meet you. I know your
Yeah.
wife."
She's an excellent attorney.
Yeah, she's very good. Yeah,
She's
she's
very
wonderful.
good.
And you know, she's great. We, you know, talk about communication. We have to communicate every day. And that's why I was a little bit late getting here tonight. I had to pick up one of my daughters from gymnastics, and she had a bloody toe, and I had to take care of that. And because my wife's had a committee meeting at the South Middle School, so.
Yeah.
But we coordinate every day. We communicate every day and figure out the schedule. Sometimes, most of the time, it works. I mean, there was one time that we forgot to pick up the youngest one at daycare. And we got a call from daycare about 15:15. Thank God I owned the daycare. It's about 6:15. Did you guys forget anybody? It was a baby. She was probably 2 or 3 at the time. So
Good.
sometimes it
God
doesn't work,
love
but
you, Matt. I mean,
we laugh about
you know,
it.
everybody's got stories like
Yeah.
that, I'm sure. But, you know, 6 daughters, you must be patient.
yeah, you know, I learned a long time ago with them that, you know what, and life is too short. I mean, and you see that today with the patrolmen, and you just learn to go with the flow. You just sometimes you have to pick your battles. Sometimes there's not a lot of battles to
I say
pick.
that all the
Yeah,
time.
it's so true.
You know, you have to learn to let a lot go. And maybe 1 or 2 things will come along. 2 is too many. Although we all can do that. It's not recommended.
Yeah.
So
right.
I like to focus. Years ago, I was able to, you know, do a number of things at the same time, but it takes a lot out of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
We
but
got great family support, you know, with
you should have your
my
mother-in-law move
yeah.
in.
Oh, we've been trying to. She's very happy living in Falmouth, though.
Oh yeah.
She loves coming to visit and help out, but she loves leaving as well.
Yeah. How old's the baby?
She's 6 now.
6.
Yeah, Peyton's 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
She's in kindergarten now.
Oh my goodness.
yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's fun though. We enjoy it, you know. And you know, if people say, you know, how do you do this? It's, you know, being a selectman. Again, it's all good people that are around me, that we work with, that really help me make me look good. You know, even people at town hall. I mean, Melissa Rodriguez, you brought up, she's a tremendous town manager.
She is.
You know, and the staff that's there. Tiffany Park is amazing.
Yes.
But they keep me on the right track on what I need to do, where I need to be, et cetera. So. But
Tiffany could run the town.
oh,
I'll tell you.
absolutely. But one thing I always try to do is I
Yeah.
always try to at least go home. If I have to go out for a meeting, I at least try
That's
to go
smart.
home after work and
Yep.
just be there for a little bit. You know, have dinner or whatever before I go out.
Absolutely.
You know, it's important for, you know, for me more so, but I think also for the family.
unit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do they think about you running? I know they supported, but what? You know, what are they? What are the kids saying?
Well, let me tell you. I mean, it really this we started talking about this back in probably September and October. This idea came about, and you know, a couple people approached me, and you know, there was rumors that the Senate President may not run again, and all that, and you know, really, you should think about doing this, and you know, kind of brushed it off like I did with you, but then more and more people started coming. So Chris and I really started talking about it. You know, we talked to the kids about it, and you know, it's the usual thing. You know, why do you want to do this? You know, for a while, what do you get out of
I
it?
can
You
hear
know,
it, yeah.
You know, and so we spent a good 3 months researching, and every rock we turned over. You know, we were trying to find a reason not to, and everything kind of fell into place, and there was never a reason not to do it. And like I said earlier, it's like a square peg in a round hole. You can't force it, but we never found that square peg. It just everything seemed to make sense and fall into place. This is all in this business. It's always about timing. It's the right place at the right time.
I was just going to say that it's all about timing.
Yeah. And as much as I tried to find the timing that wasn't working, it just didn't happen.
Yeah, it didn't happen.
No. Even my employer. I mean, at Plymouth Rehab, we just got bought by a new company back in September of 2002.
Oh.
And they're a little bit larger company than Radius was, and they're out of Farmington, Connecticut. And I had a conversation with the owner and the operations person, and said, look at, this is back in January, this is like the final phase. Look at, I'm thinking of doing this, but I really love what I do. If you don't think I should do this, without hesitation, we will support you 100%. We will keep you here. We want you to stay as administrator. You can train somebody to be an assistant administrator, work with you, and we'll support you in any way.
Right.
And even that was like, okay, that was the last straw. I said, well, how can I not now?
Right. How can you not? Oh, God, we have to fill your seat.
Well, it's funny you say that too, because I had a conversation with Larry Pires the other day because, you know.
Oh, yes, explain
Yeah,
that.
yeah, because you know, with John running as well, it's likely that one of us will, you know,
Yeah.
will make it, and so we need to really start that conversation. And what will happen? We'll put it on the agenda to talk about after the primary in September. But if one of us is elected, it will open the seat. We have to resign for a date certain. So it didn't say when we have to resign, but when we decide we're going to resign, it has to be to a date certain before you're sworn in, which is usually in January as a state rep.
Oh,
So, and then at that point, once you have the date
yeah.
of that, then it's, I believe, 45 days that an election can be held.
Right.
So the discussion's going to be, because now you're talking probably into February, mid-February, late February for an election, with May right around the corner.
But isn't
Does
it 120 days?
It's not. No,
Oh,
it's
it's
40.
not.
It's 40. I thought it was too, but Larry
Okay.
said it's 45 days.
All right. So
You know,
February.
right. We could decide. You know, it'd be either mid to late February. That would be. So as a board, we could decide. You know what? Why don't we just leave the seat vacant until May instead of having a special election that
Yeah,
costs
that costs
$20,000,
money,
$25,000. However, the petitioners could say, the people out there could say, you know what? No, we want to have an election, and there could be a petition out there for you get 200 signatures, and you bring it to the board, and it could happen. So we're going to have that open discussion, invite people in to get people's input on that subject. See what they say.
I would be for waiting till May. I mean, the selectmen can get around that. 3 votes, you know.
Yep. Yep.
So there's no problem there. I mean, it's been done before.
Sure.
So, and
We got to get through this election first,
we
though.
got to get, we can't get too far
Yeah.
ahead. And I mean, Vinny did it, and he did it very well. He still has the gas station
Yep.
in Plymouth,
Yep.
Cedarville there, and he went to the State House every day. He did legislation. He went to meetings. He did lectures. He did it all.
He's out everywhere, too.
Yeah,
He
and
goes everywhere.
You can.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you have to have a very supportive family for that to be done, and I know they are.
Absolutely. Yep.
So, so what is on? I mean, here you are as selectman with a lot of important issues coming up, and we do have a town meeting this Saturday. It's going to be a humdinger.
It's going to be a long one.
I think it's going to be a long one. But
it's good. I mean, you know, that's what it's all about. It's about debating issues, respectfully debating issues, and coming up with what the majority of people think is the best direction for the town.
solution.
Yeah, I mean that's what it's all about, and it's nice to see that you know the precinct folks are actually getting out there and getting input from people.
Oh, they're
and
very engaged.
yeah, I mean there's so many good issues on the warrant
Yeah.
to be discussed.
Do you know the most phone calls I received were about Article 35?
That's getting a
animal.
lot of traction. Yes, it really is.
And
Yeah.
I am voting along with that for them,
Yeah.
as is Kenny.
Yeah, I think I was a lone vote on that for the selectmen. I voted for it as well. Yeah,
That
surprised. I know
surprises
you look surprised at
me.
that. Yeah, yeah.
That
But you know,
surprises me.
my oldest daughter Carrie and my sister-in-law have been advocates for this for a long time, and they really have educated me over the last couple of years on this. And
We are
so
too,
so I know a lot about it, and circuses can still happen.
Sure.
It just doesn't have to happen with the elephants and
In
the
those
tigers in those
cages
cages.
and-
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But you have Cirque du Soleil and
Yeah.
other type of circus that can still go on. But
It's actually very cruel what they do to these wild
yeah,
animals.
yeah.
So,
And the other person, Lisa Johnson, who works at the sheriff's office.
oh yeah.
She's a
a
real
doll.
advocate of elephants, and she does this wonderful program. And you really see these stories, and you really start making more of a connection with these animals, and it just
That's
just
why
makes
they
a difference.
rebel.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really not the animal's fault.
Right,
It's-
exactly. Yeah.
So we're voting for that,
Mm-hmm.
and that's Article 35. And I don't see it having an impact on.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, Stephen, you have a question?
Well, I got a comment and then a question.
Okay.
Matt, I want to thank you for everything you've done on the Board of Selectmen.
Thank
You
you.
have always email me back every time I email you. And your guiding principles are good because a lot of times you say, calm down, things will happen.
I know.
'Cause I get kind of crazy. But, I've settled down a little bit and I've kind of mellowed because of you.
Thank you.
I also want to thank you for all the times that public comment's been closed and I raised my hand and you let me get up and speak anyway. I think that is just great. It shows you respect that you have for the people.
Absolutely. Thank
The
you.
question I have, do you think we'll ever see solar farms on the old dumps down in Cedarville and up in Beaver Dam Road? They're close to the power lines, so I think the transfer would be pretty well easy to do. So I was just curious.
I met, yeah, thank you for your kind comments. I actually met with DEP in Lakeville not too long ago, talking about solar and one of the county commissioners as well, because we're trying to work on something together. And there are so many opportunities for grants out there.
Yes.
For solar, and actually they're building these now that are no cost to communities at all. And there's so much benefits for, as Steve was saying, for the power and all that. So I believe you'll see in the next 5 years, you'll see some solar farms that the town of Plymouth will have.
That'll be wonderful. I have a spot for it right on top of Mount Manomet,
Well, look what the school has done.
The
School has done a tremendous job with solar. That solar farm in
smart.
Plimpton they put in is just unbelievable. And
Paying
it's
for
paying for
all-
everything.
Well, the first ones was Hingham, Kenny, Weymouth, the big windmill,
Oh, that was Hingham. He's talking about
Hingham.
solar farm.
Yes, I know, but that sort of started everything.
Sure.
But
yeah.
Matt, we're wrapping up, and I want you to
time flies.
tell everyone why you're running for state rep.
And mention your times, where your times.
He does not know.
Yeah, I don't know when when my next my kickoff will be, but it'll be sometime in the next month or so. But I decided to, after a long deliberation, as I said, to run for state rep. It's big shoes to fill and Vinny's shoes, but I think we share a lot of the same philosophies and how we approach things. And I think there's a lot of good things happening in Plymouth, and the 400th anniversary, which we haven't even talked about, the 2020 celebration. I want to be able to be in a position to help Plymouth, and I think with my knowledge from the Finance Committee and being a Board of Selectmen, I think will help me understand the issues at the state level and actually help Plymouth even more so as we move forward and to tackle these issues, and particularly this celebration.
Right. Well,
Follow up.
Yeah.
yes.
How can people get in touch with you to find out where your events are? Is there an email address they can write?
People can email me at Matt, MATTMURATORE @gmail.com. At any point, as I said, my phone's 24/7, so feel free to email me. We'll have some announcements coming out over the next several weeks that people will get. It'll be in the newspapers, etc. So we'll get word out. But I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kenny, how long do we have?
You've got a minute and just a minute.
Okay. Matt, do you know a fellow by the name of Dan Raposa? He does
sounds
photography in town. Beautiful
Yeah,
photos.
yes, yeah.
He's on next week, and he has the most beautiful photos of Plymouth, and we're going to show them.
Oh, terrific.
But I recognize Chuck Nilasek at Vinny's time doing the video. I
Video,
thought
yeah.
that was
Yeah,
hysterical. I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you speak at Vinny's?
No. It was his brother Ollie who
Ollie,
did
I
it.
love
Tim
Ollie.
Cruz was there as well.
Oh, Tim
So,
Cruz.
yeah,
They
yeah.
all want to come on the program.
I bet they do.
And I want you back.
I'd love to.
And you're going to have Vinny call me, or you arrange
we'll
that
take care of that. Yep.
Yeah, take care of that. And I just want to thank everybody for tuning in to Talk of the Town. It's been a bad couple of days, but Plymouth does have a lot to look forward to. And I thank you so much. Thank my crew, Jimmy and Stephen. See you in 7.